multiplying and dividing integers. Really, there's just one rule you have to remember. And other than that, you just multiply and divide like you normally would. And the one rule you need to remember is if there is an even amount of negatives, your answer is going to be positive. And that's it. And then you just multiply and divide as usual. As you know, even numbers, those are 2, 4, 6, 8. Skip counting by twos, right? So these are even numbers. So when you have a problem, look at the negatives and start counting them. 1, 2. 2 is an even number. 2 times 3 is 6. And the answer is going to be positive because there's an even amount of negatives. 1, 2. 5 times 2 is 10. There's an even amount of negatives, so the answer is positive. Here's one, pretty long. It's got lots of negatives, so let's count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 negatives. 4 is an even number, so the answer is going to be positive. When you do this, of course, you follow PEMDAS. You can only multiply 2 numbers at a time. And you notice we got 2 negatives, so this answer is going to be positive. So negative 2 times negative 4 is an 8. Negative 1 times negative 3 is going to be 3. 8 times 3 is 24. Now since they are all, for this particular one, since it's all multiplying, it doesn't matter what order you multiply, you're going to get the same answer. But what I want you to remember though is just one rule. If there's an even amount of negatives, the answer is positive. I said, well, what about if there's an odd number? Well, if there's an odd number, what's left? The answer is either going to be positive or negative. So if there's an odd number, the answer is negative. All right, so here we have some basic math facts. And first you just look at the problem. 6 times 3. 6 times 3 is 18. How many negatives do we have? 1. 1's an odd number, so that means the answer's got to be odd. Negative 18. 4 times 2, 8. Let's look at how many negatives there are. There's only 1. Is 1 an even number? Nope, so it's not going to be positive. Since there's only 1, then it's odd number. The answer is going to be negative. Let's go 5 times 2 times 7. So 5 times a negative 2. I've got 1 negative. 1's an odd number. If it's an odd number, it's negative. So this is going to be negative 10. And now I'm going to bring down my 7. Negative 10 times 7. I've got 1 negative. It's odd, so the answer is going to be negative. Negative 10 times 7 is going to be a negative 70. So if there is an even amount and even amount of negatives, what did we say the rule was? It's going to be positive. And if there is an odd amount, like if there's 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, skip counting odd numbers, then your answer is going to be negative. So even amount positive, odd amount negative. I'm going to give you one other way to think about it, and maybe you'll like this one better. So you pick whichever rule is easiest to remember in your head, or make up one of your own. Okay? Here's another way of thinking about, how to figure out if it's going to be positive or negative. All right, you can only multiply 2 numbers at a time. Okay? Same thing with division. So if you can only multiply 2 numbers at a time, or you can only, I should also say, Oh, give me a marker. Give me a pen. There we go. Uh-oh, my pen is malfunctioning. This is not good. All it wants to do is erase. Okay, you can only multiply and you can only divide 2 numbers at a time. So, here's another way of thinking of it. If the signs are the same sign, then the answer is going to be positive. All right? If you look at those 2 numbers and they have different signs, the answer will be negative. Okay, so those are the 2 ways that you can use to figure out whether an answer is going to be positive or negative after you just multiply and divide like you normally would. Okay, if they have the same sign, positive. Different signs, negative. Or if you want to think about the other way, if they have an even amount of negatives, positive. Odd amount of negatives, negative. Doesn't matter, whichever way works best for you, or like I said, come up with another trick that you like. Okay, so let's put some of this to the test. All right, here we go. Take a look at your notes. And remember, we multiply and divide as usual, and then decide if it's positive or negative. All right, we start off with a real tough one. 18 divided by 6. 18 divided by 6 is 3. We have no negatives. So if there's no negatives, it's going to be positive. You could also say that they both have the same sign. So they both have the same sign, and that means it's going to be positive. So positive 3. 24 divided by 6. 24 divided by 6 is 4. All right, think to yourself, will this be positive or negative? The signs are different, so it's going to be negative. Or you could say, well, there's only one negative. One's an odd number, so that means it's got to be a negative 4. Here we go. 10 divided by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So now let's decide, is it positive or negative? I've got 1, 2 negatives. 2's an even number, so that makes it positive. Or you could say, well, the signs are the same sign, positive. So negative 10 divided by negative 2 is a positive 5. All right, 5 times 7, basic fact, we know that is 35. Is it going to be positive or negative? Same sign, positive. Or 1, 2. 2 negatives. That's an even number, positive. All right, let's come over here. Negative 15 divided by 3. I know that answer is going to be 5. Is it a positive or negative? Different signs, negative. Or, oh, there's only one negative. That's an odd number, so it's got to be negative. Negative 8 times 2. So we just say, well, 8 times 2 I know is 16. Now, is it positive or negative? We've got different signs, so that means negative. Or there's only one negative number, and 1 is an odd number, so the answer is a negative 16. All right, what about when you have, excuse me, 3, 4, 5 numbers you're going to multiply? Now, you won't get into too much of that this year, but that's where you would follow PEMDAS, or you can simply count up your negatives and figure out what the answer will be. I'm going to do just one example. Okay, you won't get anything this complicated in class, but on the MAT tests, if you start doing really well, you could get something a little more complicated, something similar to this. So I want to show it to you so you'll be able to apply those rules to figure this out. This is just multiplying and dividing, and you follow PEMDAS, which means to multiply and divide whichever comes first. Now, if I use the rule where I count the negatives, I can tell you right now that this answer is going to be negative because there's 1, 2, 3 negatives. So since there are 3 negatives, that is an odd number. 3 is an odd number, so my answer is going to be a negative answer. So I know when I get done, I'm going to put a negative sign. Now, I don't have to worry about any of the signs. I can just do my PEMDAS. So I'll start here. 4 times 2 is 8, and divided by, I'm not even going to put any of these signs because I know the answer is going to be negative. Now I go 8 divided by 4 is 2. Bring back all the other stuff. 2 times 5 is 10. And then 10 times 3 is 30. Okay, but that's not my final answer. Remember, it is negative. Negative 30. Because I said it's going to be negative since there are an odd number, since there is an odd number of negative signs. Okay, now let me show you how to do it following the rule where if the signs are the same, it's positive, and if they are different, it's negative. You're still going to come out with the same answer, but it's a little more tricky if you follow that rule. All right, now I'm going to solve the same problem, but this time I'm going to follow this rule, meaning if it's the same sign, it's going to be positive. If they have different signs, it's going to be negative. And now I have to keep track of my positives and negatives. So here I've got 4 times a negative 2, different signs, so this is going to be a negative 8 divided by negative 4 times 5 times a negative 3. Okay, and now negative 8 divided by negative 4, same sign, so this answer now is going to be positive. So 8 divided by 4 is 2 times 5 times a negative 3. 2 times 5 is 10, same sign, so it's positive. 2 times a negative 3. And then 10 times 3 is 30. They have different signs, so the answer is negative. Okay, so you see I still got the same answer, negative 30, but I had to be careful and keep all my signs as I went. So when you have a longer problem, sometimes it's just easier to count the negatives. And then you know the answer is going to be negative and you don't have to worry about anything else. So if that confused you, erase it from your mind. It's okay. Go back and just remember about when we talked about these rules. Okay? And you simply multiply and divide like you normally would and put the negative or positive sign at the end. So those are the 2 rules, or whatever else you think you can come up with to help you decide whether an answer is positive or negative when you're multiplying integers, multiplying and dividing integers. Same sign positive, different sign negative, or count up the amount of negatives. Okay, we are going to do just a wee bit quick practice just so you can see how you're applying this. Okay, here they are. If you want, you probably don't even have to write these down, but you can if you want. If you want, you can pause and then work out the problems and then start it up again. But what I'm going to do right now is we'll just go one at a time, and if you know your basic facts, you should be able to get these really quick in your head. All right, negative 4 times negative 3. What's the answer going to be? Positive 12. Good, I hope. Negative 20 divided by a positive 10. Answer is negative 2. 5 times a negative 6. Answer is negative 30. 25 divided by a negative 5. Answer is negative 5. Negative 8 divided by negative 2. Answer is And that's all there's to it.